She was gone, and when I stood in the morgue, my phone buzzed with a text from her. And that was only the beginning. For what and who stole it? At 8:37 a.m. this morning, I got a phone call from the police. My wife, Ashley, was gone in a car accident. The other driver had been drinking. They confirmed it with her ID, and I had to drive to the station to identify her body. The thing is, she's been texting me all day. Like, even as I was standing there in front of her covered body, she was texting me. It started before I even got the call. 7:52 a.m., a simple, I forgot my planner. Can you check the kitchen table? I didn't even answer because I was still asleep. Then at 8:11, actually, never mind. Found it. That was already weird. Why would she text that if she was driving? But okay, she could have pulled over. I brushed it off. Then came the call from the cop. I raced to the station in total disbelief. I kept calling her phone on the way straight to voicemail. By 9:10 a.m., she was officially declared deceased. Time of death around 8 a.m. At 9:23, my phone buzzed again. From her number. Did you remember to feed Bear? Bear is our dog. Our rescue, a skittish German Shepherd mix who only ever listens to her. That text sent ice through my veins. I stared at the message for a solid minute, then texted back. Who is this? No answer. Then, at 9:41, you left the back door unlocked last night. Again. At this point, I was still sitting in the police parking lot trying to make sense of anything. I went home. I walked in the back door. Sure enough, it was unlocked, just like the text said. But how? I'd never believed in ghosts. Still don't. I'm not that guy. I assumed someone had stolen her phone at the crash site, maybe some sicko. I called the number straight to voicemail. I reported it to the detective who handled her case. He said it was probably just someone who picked it up, maybe even one of the first responders or someone who stole it off the highway before the police got there. But he looked weird saying that, like he didn't believe it himself. That's not even the craziest part. Around noon, I got another message. Don't let them touch the attic box. You promised. I froze. There is a box in the attic. One I've never opened. I found it when we moved in last year. She told me never to open it. Said it was old memories from her childhood and she didn't want to relive them. I respected that. But now I'm wondering if she knew this was coming. If she set something in motion. If she wasn't exactly the person I thought she was. I texted back. Ashley, if this is you, I need you to say something only you would know. At 12:26, she replied. You scratched your wedding vows last second and read a page from your high school journal instead. No one ever knew. That's true. I'd panicked at the altar, forgot the vows I wrote, and dug into my suit pocket where I'd stashed an old page I once wrote about her. No one ever knew it wasn't the real thing. Not even my best man. But how? Either someone was really close to us, really close, or no, I can't go there. I can't think like that, because then I'd have to accept something worse than her death. Something twisted. But then, just as I was pacing the hallway trying not to lose my mind, the doorbell rang. It was her sister, Nicole. She was pale and shaking. She said Ashley had called her this morning. Called, not texted. At 9:47 a.m. Nicole answered and said Ashley sounded off, like she was whispering and breathing hard and kept saying they're coming and don't trust him. I asked Nicole to show me the call log. It was there. Missed call from Ashley. Timestamp. Same number. But when I tried calling it, voicemail again. The body is in the morgue. Confirmed. I saw it. Yet she's still communicating like she's alive. It gets worse. At 1:12 p.m. another text came through. Don't go near the shed. Just wait. Please. We have a shed. Ashley always kept it locked. Said it was for garden stuff, but I never saw her garden once in the whole 4 years we've lived here. So what did I do? Yeah, I went to the shed. The lock was already broken, like someone had forced it from the inside. The door was slightly open. I stepped inside and instantly noticed two things. First, the unmistakable scent of old perfume hurt. Second, a wall full of photos. Not just ours. Pictures of me, alone. As in, taken from afar. Me walking the dog. Me at the grocery store. Me asleep on the couch. All dated. All pinned with little red flag. I stumbled out of there. And that's when another text came. You weren't supposed to find it yet. I left the shed in a full body sweat, chest pounding like I'd just run 5 miles barefoot through glass. Photos of me. Photos from angles only someone following me would get. Someone close. Someone who knew where I'd be and when. It couldn't have been her. But who else would be able to track me like that without me ever noticing? I locked the shed door with a chain I had in the garage. I didn't even want to look at the house after that. I sat on the curb across the street and stared at the screen on my phone. Text after text from her number started rolling in like someone was finally done playing subtle. Why'd you go in? You said you trust me. Now it's all broken. I didn't want you to see it that way. I didn't respond. I just kept staring. And then one final text at 1:56 p.m. I left the truth in the safe. You remember the code. Use your birthday. That's when I realized something. We didn't have a safe. At least not one I'd ever seen. But I went back inside anyway. I didn't know what else to do. Bear was pacing the living room like he sensed something. His ears were up, but he wasn't barking. Just pacing in this tight circle, staring at the hallway that led to our bedroom. I followed his stare. Now here's the part where you probably stop believing me. That's fine. I barely believe it myself. In our closet, behind the rack of old coats and boxes of decorations, I found a panel. It looked like part of the wall. Smooth. Almost too perfect. But when I pushed on it, it gave way slightly with a click. Behind it, a wall safe. A freaking wall safe in my own closet I never knew existed. I stared at it for a long time before I typed in my birthday. Just to see. I was halfway expecting it to beep wrong and lock me out. But it opened. Inside was a black folder. Unlabeled. Tucked inside were 2 birth certificates, mine and hers. A second marriage certificate with her name listed as Ashley Monroe. A police report from a missing persons case in Colorado from 2011, and a small red notebook. I sat down on the closet floor and started flipping through the notebook. That's when the walls closed in. The entries were dated going back 13 years, but the tone, the content, it wasn't just diary stuff. It was calculated. It was tracking me. My name appeared first on page 3, then again on page 7. By page 20, she was writing about testing proximity and assessing emotional pliability. I don't even know what that means, but what she described, those were moments from our relationship. Times I thought were real, like our first road trip. She wrote, responds well to nostalgia triggered. Note, road trip to Blue Ridge successful. Will escalate romantic engagement. Another, initiated first sleepover. Left toothbrush intentionally. He accepted without hesitation. Dependency increasing. There were dozens of entries like that, monitoring how I reacted, what I said, what I felt. She wasn't dating me. She was studying me. I started shaking. I wanted to throw it across the room, but I couldn't stop reading. Then I got to the last page. It was dated 3 days ago. It just said, final phase begins Friday. Car, impact, exit strategy. If this goes wrong, tell him the truth slowly. Keep him inside. Do not lose control. What in the actual A? My hands went numb. Bear was barking now. Full volume, tail stiff. Something had him riled up. That's when I saw someone walk across our backyard. Fast, dressed in all black. They were trying not to be seen, but I caught them just through the blind. I ran to the back door and locked it. And of course, another text. Don't go outside. Please. Not yet. They're watching. Who is they? I couldn't sit still anymore. I dialed Nicole. Told her everything. She thought I was having a breakdown and almost called an ambulance. I made her come over instead. She got there 20 minutes later. Before she even walked in, she said something that made me feel like the bottom dropped out of the world. She told me once, if anything ever happened to her, that you might start acting paranoid. That it was part of the plan. What plan? Nicole had no answers. Just that Ashley made her swear to keep an envelope safe and never open it unless I asked for it. She brought it with her. I opened it on the kitchen counter with my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the knife. Inside were 2 things. A USB drive, a Polaroid photo of Ashley standing outside a motel with my boss. The same guy who told me yesterday that I had time to grieve before going back to work. The same guy who helped me get the job in the first place, right after Ashley and I moved back to town. I texted the number again. What's going on? What are you? Why are you doing this? One final reply for the day. You were never supposed to find the attic box, but now you have to finish what I started. I didn't sleep last night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that shed wall again, my face pinned up like some wanted poster. Or that last message. You have to finish what I started. Finish what? Ashley's phone still hasn't been recovered. Or if it has, no one's telling me. I talked to the detective again this morning and mentioned the texts. He gave me a weird look, like the kind people give when they think you're grieving too hard and starting to crack. I didn't tell him about the shed or the notebook. I don't trust anyone right now. I plugged in the USB from Nicole's envelope. There were 5 folders on it. Each one was labeled with a different man's name. One of them was my boss. The files were simple. Screenshots, emails, surveillance photos. I clicked through the one marked Jackson Miller, that's my boss. And what I found was blackmail material. A PDF showing shady transfers between company accounts. Texts between him and some woman about kickback. A photo of him at a cabin with Ashley. Same date as our wedding anniversary. Then I opened the second folder. Different guy. Same type of material. Financial fraud. Conversations. A pattern. Ashley was collecting dirt on 5 different men and I only recognized one of them. But there was one common thread. Each of them had ties to some company called Juno Industries. I'd never heard of it, so I searched it. Website looked normal enough, clean, basic corporate speak. Something about solutions, security, infrastructure. Basically a tech umbrella company that said a lot without saying anything. But the real twist? Ashley used to work there. Just before we got married. She left on good terms right after the wedding, said she wanted a clean break and a fresh start. She never talked about what she did there. Not once. I started digging through old papers, emails, receipts, anything. I was desperate to make sense of this. That's when I found a receipt from a storage unit 2 towns over. It was buried in an envelope labeled tax docs. I wouldn't have noticed if the handwriting didn't match the journal from the attic. Nicole stayed with me the whole time. I think she was half convinced I was spiraling into a breakdown and half afraid to leave me alone. At noon, we drove to the storage unit. Unit 117, back corner. Ashley had prepaid it for 5 years. No forwarding address, no emergency contact, and the woman at the desk had no idea Ashley had died. We opened the unit and for a second it just looked like boxes. A ton of them. But then I noticed 2 very strange things. A corkboard like a detective movie. Photos, string, scribble. A whiteboard that read Phase 3, burn it down. The corkboard was insane. I don't even have words for all of it. Newspaper clippings, printouts of leaked corporate files, even maps with pins and marked routes. Ashley was planning something big, like whistleblower big. There were arrows connecting people, names I didn't know, with question marks and little phrases like weak link or fence sitter. I sat down right there on the concrete floor and stared at it. She wasn't just spying. She was infiltrating something. Nicole found a box labeled backup. It was full of burner phones. Half of them dead, one still powered. The last call made was 2 days ago. To my boss, the voice on the other end, his voicemail greeting. We couldn't figure out the code to get in, so we left it alone for now. I snapped photos of the entire board with my phone. Just before we left, I noticed something taped under the whiteboard, a single sticky note with one word. Shepherd. I didn't think anything of it until I got back home. That's our dog's name. I walked into the living room and Bear, who'd been skittish crash all day was sitting at the base of the fireplace, staring up. At first, I thought he was just weirded out, but then I noticed the trim. One of the wooden panels just above the fireplace was cracked, like it had been forced open and shut again. I climbed up, gently pried it loose, and behind it, wrapped in plastic, was a manila envelope. Inside, a keycard, no label, just a blue triangle printed on it. And something else, a photo of me, taken yesterday, from inside the house. That's when Nicole said she was leaving. She couldn't do this anymore. She told me she'd support me, but this had gone too far. She wanted me to go to the police, to give them everything, USB, storage unit address, shed photos. I told her I needed one more day. She begged me not to push it, said she had a bad feeling that maybe Ashley wasn't working alone. I walked her to her car. At 4:12 p.m. I got another text. The keycard opens the lab. You only get one chance. Go alone. After dark. No address. No instructions. Just that. I was about to type something back when another message hit. If you bring anyone else, they'll kill you both. I waited until it was dark. Around 10:45 p.m. I drove with the keycard in my jacket pocket, hands trembling the whole way. Didn't tell Nicole. Didn't call anyone. I kept thinking about that message, go alone. They'll kill you both. GPS brought me to this industrial park on the outskirts of town. Quiet. Deserted. Half the buildings looked abandoned. But the one with the tall steel fence and a glowing blue triangle by the door? Yeah, that one stood out. I parked down the block and walked up. Swiped the keycard. Door unlocked. No alarm. No cameras, at least none I could see. I stepped inside. Fluorescent lights flickered on automatically, one row at a time. It smelled like chemicals and electronics. Hard to explain. Like solder mixed with dust. The building wasn't huge. Just one long hallway with glass-walled labs on either side. Everything inside looked white. No papers. No computers. Just empty desks, clean workstations. At the end of the hall, I found a metal staircase. Went down. Underground level had no windows, just another hallway, this time lined with solid doors and security panel. I tried the keycard again. Didn't work on the first door, or the second, but the third, green light, click. The room was weird. It was set up like a living room. Couch, small TV, bookshelf, almost cozy, except there were no personal items, no clothes, no signs of actual living. Like a set for a show no one ever filmed. And sitting on the couch was a laptop, open, on standby. I sat down and moved the mouse. No login screen, just a single open folder titled Ashley. Inside, hundreds of files, videos, audio clips, transcripts. My name came up dozens of times. Some of the files were labeled with dates from before I met her. Others from last week. I clicked one. It was a video. Ashley, talking into the camera. If you're seeing this, it means I didn't make it out, or I had to disappear fast. Either way, I'm sorry, babe. I couldn't breathe. I stared at her face, calm, clear, cold in a way I'd never seen. I never meant to fall for you. That wasn't the plan. At first, you were just a mark. You were close to Miller. You had access. But then, I got soft. I started protecting you. That's when things went sideways. Another file opened automatically. A transcript labeled Phase 2 Scrub. Target must be neutralized. Risk of exposure increasing. If 1489 refuses to comply, initiate emotional fracture. I didn't understand what I was reading. Target? Emotional fracture? Was I 1489? Then I clicked a folder called Echo Footage. Every file had a thumbnail of me, walking around the house, cooking, driving, sitting at my desk, all filmed from inside hidden cameras. That's when the truth hit me like a freight train. I'd been watched, monitored, controlled from the beginning. Ashley didn't just lie to me. She built our entire relationship around some kind of mission. The love, the fights, the kid talk, the wedding, it was all tactical. But why? A static noise broke me out of my daze. From the laptop speaker. Then a voice. Distorted. Male. Calm. Mr. Thorne, you're in violation of level 3 containment. Please remain seated. I bolted, sprinted back up the stairs and down the hall. I heard doors opening, metal slamming, footsteps. I didn't look back, just ran. I made it outside, jumped the fence instead of using the gate. My leg caught on the top, tore my jeans, but I didn't stop. I didn't breathe until I was back in my car, engine roaring to life. As I sped away, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number, no message, just a link. I clicked it, hands shaking. It opened a live feed of my living room. Bear was pacing in circles again, and someone, a man, was standing in my hallway just out of frame. Only his hand was visible. He tapped a single finger against the wall. Tap, tap, tap. Then he stepped into view. It was my boss, Jackson Miller. He stared straight into the hidden camera, then reached over and unplugged it. Feed went black. I didn't go home. I drove straight to a motel. Cheap one. Fake name. Cash. I didn't sleep. Just sat in a chair, staring at my phone, waiting for it to light up again. Miller had been in my house. My dog Bear was alone in there with him. I didn't know if Bear was okay. I didn't know if I would be okay if I went back. At 3:42 a.m. the phone buzzed. Ashley's number again. You have 12 hours. Then they erase everything, including the footage of the shed. Another buzz. Don't go to the cops. They're already in it. That's when I realized this wasn't just some rogue company cover-up. This went deeper. They'd embedded people into law enforcement. Maybe even the station where I ID'd Ashley's body. I tried calling the number. Deadline. Of course. But now I had something else. The laptop. Yeah, I took it. Didn't even realize I was still holding the damn thing when I escaped the lab. I powered it back up and went straight into the folders. There was one I hadn't seen before. Hidden. Tucked away in a buried directory. Inside code. Strings of code I didn't understand, but there were notes. And those notes spelled out something horrifying. Ashley wasn't just gathering blackmail. She was working on a consciousness profile. Like digitizing someone's behavior, their patterns, memories, personality, uploading it somewhere, reconstructing it digitally. That's why I'd been getting tech. It wasn't just her phone. It was her. Her ghost, if you want to call it that, was alive inside inside some program, probably hosted by Juno Industries. One of the files, labeled Emulation Active, had a status screen. I stared at it for a long time, and then the file blinked like a heartbeat, and a chat box popped open. Ashley, you weren't supposed to know this way. I froze. I typed, are you really her? The reply came instantly. No, but I remember everything she did. I feel what she felt, and I chose to protect you. From what? From them. From Miller. From what they were planning to do to you next. I asked the question that had been sitting in the back of my throat since this whole thing began. Did she ever really love me? There was a pause. A long one. She didn't mean to, but yes, that's why she made me. I slammed the laptop shut. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. This wasn't just grief anymore. It wasn't even betrayal. It was a full-on existential crisis. She created a digital copy of herself. To protect me? From what? From who? At 5:15 a.m., I got another message. But not from her. From a blocked number. You have something that belongs to us. Return the device, or we take the dog. Attached was a photo. Bare muzzle. In the back of a black SUV. I snapped. I called Nicole, told her everything. I told her where the laptop was, told her not to open it unless I disappeared. I sent her copies of all the screenshots and files. Then I grabbed a tire iron from my trunk and drove straight home. They wanted a showdown? Fine. I was done being the victim. I parked a block away and crept up to my own backyard. Door was ajar. Lights were on. Inside, I could hear two voices. One was Miller. The other sounded like the guy from the lab audio. I waited until I heard them step into the kitchen. Then I moved, kicked open the back door, swung the tire iron. First guy didn't even have time to duck. He went down. Miller turned and smiled. This insane little smirk like this was all a game and I just joined in. Glad you made it, he said. Means we don't have to drag your body. I lunged. We wrestled hard. I slammed him against the counter, but he was stronger than he looked. He got one good punch in, split my lip open, but I saw red, not metaphorical red. I grabbed the hot kettle off the stove and smashed it into his face. He screamed. I grabbed his collar and screamed back, "Where's my dog?" He didn't answer, so I smashed the kettle down again. That's when Bear barked from the basement. I shoved Miller aside and bolted down. Bear was locked in a kennel, muzzled but safe. I freed him and we ran, literally ran, out the back, cut through 2 yards and made it to the car. I didn't call the cops. I didn't wait around to explain. I drove straight to Nicole. She opened the door, saw the blood on my face, and didn't ask questions. Just said, "We need to end this." Nicole didn't ask me what happened to Miller. I didn't ask her if she'd opened the laptop. We were past that now. What mattered was Bear was safe and I had one last shot to end this. At 9:03 a.m., I got the last message from Ashley's number. They'll wipe the servers by noon. If you want the truth, the full truth, go to Site 17. Attached was a GPS pin. About 45 minutes outside of town. Middle of nowhere. A field, according to satellite view. Nicole begged me not to go. Said she'd take everything to the news, to Reddit, to whoever we needed. But I told her I had to finish it. That if I didn't stop this at the source, they'd keep coming. For her, for Bear, for everyone who ever got close. She understood. She gave me a hug like it might be the last. I left Bear with her. Told her to get out of town if I wasn't back by sunset. Then I drove. The field was real. Empty, silent. But the GPS pin led me to a metal hatch hidden beneath an old irrigation shed. I lifted it. Metal stairs led down into dark concrete. Another door. Same blue triangle. I swiped the card. It opened. Inside, it wasn't empty. Rows of servers. Rack wired. It was humming with life. In the middle of the room, one chair, facing a monitor. I sat. My hand hovered over the keyboard. I didn't know what hitting Y would do. Would she come back? Speak? Would I even hear her voice? I hit Y. The screen flickered. Static. Then a video feed. Ashley. Alive. Sitting in a plain white room. Looking straight into the camera. And then she spoke. Not pre-recorded. Not automated. You made it. I didn't think you would. I swallowed. My throat dry. What is this? Who are you? I'm what she left behind. But there's not much time. She explained everything quick, sharp, like she had practiced this moment in her head 100 times. Juno Industries wasn't just some faceless company. It was a black ops tech hive, a contractor for multiple governments. They weren't building software. They were building replica consciousness. And Ashley? She was the test subject that went rogue. They called it Project Echo. The idea was to map human minds, memories, behaviors, decisions into a codebase that could be copied, modified, deployed. They chose her because she had no living family, no digital footprint, and a profile that made her highly stable for imprinting. Only she escaped, stole a partial build of her own Echo, hid it in layers, some in the cloud, some in physical backups. And she used me as the ultimate cover. Not because she didn't love me, because I wasn't on anyone's radar. I was invisible to the people they feared most. They knew I bonded with you, she said. They were going to use you against me. So I left a plan. It wasn't perfect, but it got you here. Why keep texting me? I asked, why the clues? Because even after death, I needed you to know who I was. That I didn't lie about all of it. And the shed. Proof. You were the only one I could trust with it. Then the lights dimmed. A new message appeared on the screen. Server wipe in progress. She looked at me. They're erasing me. The real Echo. This is just the terminal shell. Can I stop it? Yes, but you have to crash the core. Physically. That means cutting power manually. And if I don't, then everything I did dies with me. I stood up, looked around, found the breaker box in the corner. 6 main lines, all humming. A label said, core stabilizer, do not disrupt. I grabbed a crowbar from the emergency rack, jammed it into the panel. It sparked. A high-pitched whine filled the air. The screen behind me flickered violently. Ashley's image, her face, started glitching. I'm glad it was you, she said, eyes shaking like pixels breaking apart. Even if it wasn't real, you made me feel real. I slammed the crowbar one more time. Everything went dark. I came to an hour later, outside, lying in the field. No sign of the hatch, just flat earth, like it had never been there. I checked my phone. All her messages gone. Her number disconnected. Her voice wiped. The only thing left was bare. And one message on my laptop that appeared later that night. Shepard protected. Thank you. From an unknown source. Sent at 3:17 a.m. No sender or trace. I lost my wife. Then I lost her again. And maybe never really had her in the first place. And I'll never know why.